And that sense, and that's where I was coming from, really, that there was a sense that there is something that you can put your faith in, that you can entrust your life to, that will develop you, carry you along. There's not something you've got to be thinking about all the time. There's not got to be under your conscious control, but something that nonetheless you can, to use the Buddhist phrase, take refuge in. The thing that is central, the only thing that's really all schools of Buddhism have got in common, you might say doctrinally, is taking refuge, is that you rely upon
support somehow.
Yes, yes, you rely upon a spiritual support.
And what does the actual practice involve?
Chanting.
Okay. Do you want to just... What kind of chanting do you do? You want to just chant very briefly for 30 seconds? Give us a feel of the chanting.
Well, there's many ways of chanting. The chant is essentially the chants that are used in Pure Land are, from a Buddhist point of view, refuge formulas. I take refuge in, but usually in the traditional languages. So you might chant Namo Amidavo, Namo Amidavo, Namo Amidavo, Namo Amidavo. Namo is like I take refuge. Okay. And then whatever follows it will be a particular Buddha or aspect of enlightenment or aspect of the Dhamma. Amitabha means limitless light, for instance. Amitayus means limitless life, and so on. So many of these formulas do start with this Namo, or in Japanese, Kimyo, I take refuge in, and then some aspect of the transcendent, of the Dhamma, of the Buddha.
And how long do you do the chanting for each day? Is there a suggested time?
Well, we are supposed not to let an hour pass without doing some.
Really?
Not necessarily out loud.
You've done your bit for next hour. You're
so
right.
I'm all right.
But on the other hand, I mean, it varies a lot. I think the important thing is the spirit and the heart feel of it.
Yeah.
And so sometimes we'll have times when we do very intensive chanting. Like, for example, we have a retreat that we run each December when we do intensive chanting. And the past 3 years, we've done 24 hours of continuous chanting in the form
You
that
sat for
David was
24
just
hours
doing.
and chanted the whole time?
Alternating chanting and sitting and walking with the
chanting all the time, whether you're sitting or whether you're walking.
Wow.
You chant.
That must actually really relax you, I would have thought. It takes you away from the business of the mind, doesn't it?
All sorts of processes. Yes. I mean, it's interesting because, I mean, the intention isn't really in order to achieve something. Really, in Pure Land, one is chanting simply in order to chant. You know, sometimes it has different feelings to it. Sometimes it's got a sort of calling feel about it. It's about the heart sort of reaching out and searching for something.
Yeah.
Other times it can be an expression of gratitude, an expression of appreciation towards Buddha.
It's more celebratory than trying to get you somewhere. So that we would say of our practice that it's not so much that you do the practice in order to attain, say, a specific state of mind. In the course of doing the practice, you might have many states of mind. You might feel elated, you might feel sad, you might feel anguish, you might feel joy, you might experience all sorts of things, and that kind of, it's the emotionality of the practice is par for the course. You'd expect to experience something. You'd expect to experience probably many things, but not to be locked into one target state, as it were. It's not like trying to achieve a certain frame of mind in any simple sense. I mean, it certainly does change your global attitude of mind to life as a whole.
And sorry,
Karen, go on, yeah.
With something like the 24-hour practice, or this coming year we're actually going to do 3 days, it can be something that an individual does the whole thing on their own, like they do the whole 24 hours. But we see it much more as a collective practice. Yeah. So if people feel they want to just do a few hours and then go away again, or people want to take a break overnight and get some sleep, or they want to go out and have a walk in the garden, or whatever it is they want to do. That's not sort of seen as something bad. You know, it's like collectively we share it. And I think the whole business of it being a collective practice is actually quite typical of Pureland, that we don't feel we have to achieve something on our own. We feel that there is always support there.
And like in Japan, there's a particular shrine, which is like the little house where Honen Shonin, who was the great popularizer of Pure Land in the 13th century in Japan, lived. And that little house is still there. And sometimes there will be like chanting vigils, if you like, where people will sit on the little chanting platform opposite this house, so you see the house, and you'll chant. You have a mokujo, which is a percussion instrument that goes bok, 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 bok as you chant and keeps the rhythm. And so people will, you know, like a team of people, if you like, will keep the chanting going for however long. Even if it's a matter of days or whatever it may be. So that there is a sense of collective effort in it. And I think that sense of collectivity and collective effort and generating a particular sort of community is also a very important part, because you're talking about creating heaven. And what is heaven? Heaven is cooperation. Heaven is harmonious relationships. It's a teamwork. You know, heaven is not an individual personal thing on your own. Heaven is harmony.
And I know you mentioned the word community. Just reminded me, you both actually live in a Buddhist community.
We do.
And I've in my past lived in spiritual communities and known how challenging that can be at times. And I wonder how it is for you guys and how it works in your community.
Oh, it's many different things at different times, and the community itself has gone through quite an evolutionary process. It started to be a community, I guess, 1998, so a bit over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And we see living in community as being very important, both in terms of being a way in which people deepen their practice, and we see it as a training community. So some members of the community are either ordained or working towards ordination. And then also as, in a way, a microcosm of society, that it's a place where one can demonstrate an alternative way of living. And so for us, our community is quite a diverse community. We have, as I say, some ordained people, but we also have other people who are not ordained, who are living in the house because they have an interest, but not necessarily because they've sort of committed their lives to the practice and the lifestyle in the way that we have. We have all ages in the community. Our oldest person is 70, our youngest person is 18 months, and
How do you deal with the issues that come up?